Now let's begin this second half with President Muhammadu Buhari's declaration of the discovery and drilling of oil in Nasarawa State. The president says the discovery will lead to greater prosperity for Nigerians and enhance overall energy security for the country. The president, in a virtual message to the official spud-in of the Ebenyi-A Well, located in the Middle Benue Trough in Obi Local Council of the state, said the surrounding communities will benefit from the value created by the exploration and eventual production activities. President Buhari, however, directed NNPC Limited and its partners to take due care of the environmental consequences of the oil exploration activities and mitigate the negative effect. He thanked the government and people of Nasarawa State and the host community for their support and collaboration towards the success of the exploration campaign. And to walk us through the oil exploration in Nasarawa State, let's talk to the Director, Community Engagement Connected Development, Kingsley Agu, who joins us live via Zoom from Lagos. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So we've seen several attempts by this administration in terms of exploring oil in the north, discovering oil in the north, and that seems to now be bearing fruit. As we just heard that oil has been discovered in Nasarawa State. I want to ask you what you think that means for the country, especially in terms of the benefits.
Okay, so what it means is that there will be more access to resources that could provide more finance for the country if being used judiciously. So it's a welcome address. And what this means is that it's not just the Niger Delta area that's rich in oil. Right now it's coming to the north. And from research, initially, it has actually proven that Nigeria actually sits on a large chunk of natural resources, which oil is chief among them. So it's a big and welcome development for us in Nigeria. But then I wouldn't want to just dwell on the joy in it, but call on the federal government right now to pay close attention to the oil host communities at this point in time, because the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, which the president signed into law, actually provides for the formation of what we call the host community development trust, aimed at ensuring that the environment of the host community and then the social welfare of host communities are actually dealt with. So it would be nice if the Chapter 3 of the Petroleum Industry Act is currently being put in place so that we can have that structure set in those communities before the exploration of those oil starts from that area, or before the environment actually degraded in the environment.
I was just going to get to that, Mr. Agu. I was just going to get to that. And interesting, you mentioned the host community, because one of the things we've heard about oil exploration, especially in the Niger Delta, is the environmental impact. We saw what happened in Ogoni land. That cleanup, what was a big issue. It took years for it to even, be talked about and for it to commence. What do you think should be put in place to ensure that as we continue to discover oil in the country, the host communities do not begin to suffer some sort of environmental degradation?
Okay, so as Director of Community Engagement as Connected Development, we've been leading a campaign where we're trying to get oil host communities to get their host community development trust, which is Chapter 3 of the PIA, to start working. And what this means is that the oil companies need to come together with these host communities to set up these structures. But I can tell you that according to the law, it provides for 6 months for this structure to be set up across this community. But I don't know of any community that has successfully set up their oil host community. This is more than 1 year after the signing of the law in August 2021. Now, this brings me back to the lessons for the federal government. The federal government needs to put their foot on ground and ensure that whatever oil companies that will be exploring oils there, be it the NNPC, because as it is right now, the NNPC is currently a company, they need to set up the host community development trust for the people of Nasarawa State so that they can actually benefit from that. And that is one. Also, the oil has also been discovered in Bauchi. I hope the federal government is also setting that up so that these oil host communities would not end up like the Niger Delta communities that have been degraded and due to the oil exploration activities in that location. Because if you don't take care of the people that will benefit from this oil, you begin to see them go into alternative means, which is breaking of busting of pipelines, attacking oil infrastructure, and the country would be the biggest loser in this because revenue is going to shut down, just like it did just recently, and we'll suffer for it. So there's a need for the government to pay close attention to the welfare of the oil host communities as enshrined in Chapter 3 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, with the federal government actually, which the president signed into law to take care of these communities. So we'll take things from what didn't work well in the Nigerian town.
And interesting, you mentioned the pipeline vandalism we see in the Niger Delta region, because I'm sure the people in these communities where oil is now being discovered are watching with keen interest how things are playing out in the Niger Delta region and wondering if the same will apply in their region, especially with the oil explosion we see, pipeline explosion we see, the vandalism. What can also be put in place? I know we're not there yet, and you've talked about protecting the host community. In terms of the vandalism we've not seen, where they say, look, Nigeria is losing a lot of money because of this kind of vandalism, what initiatives should be put in place to ensure that that is also not the case?
So I will break that down into 3. Number 1 is proactiveness. The federal government needs to be proactive enough to ensure measures such that has been enshrined in the PI, just like I always refer to the PI because that is the law, position of the law. First, the federal government will be proactive in ensuring that those measures are actually put in place in those communities. That's 1. Secondly, the community members need to be, there need to be a lot of sensitization awareness for these community members to understand their roles and responsibility and how they can partner with government, the oil companies, to ensure that their communities are not destroyed due to the oil activities. Then finally, all hands needs to be on deck. And when I mean all hands needs to be on deck, I'm talking about the security agencies, I'm talking about the civil society organizations, and then the larger public and the media. The media has a lot of role to play in this instance. So there needs to be a searchlight beamed on these communities to start now and start drumming the roles, start singing the songs, start talking about how these community members should participate in the entire process as enshrined in the Petroleum Industry Act. That is 1. And also that they should not take to crime. Because most times what is sold in the media is the fact that you see these big wig or kingpins of destroying the environment or attacking government infrastructure are the ones also parading themselves as frontiers to protect this pipeline. So you don't want a situation
basically
in places like Nasarawa or
more awareness.
Like so there's a need for government to actually, there's awareness to be created around this.
For the communities, even before the exploration begins, now is the time to start the awareness. Thank you so much for talking to us. The community engagement, to the Director, Community Engagement and Connected Development, Kingsley Agu.